All right, this is Ann Sink here, and I have a really special member of the Daily Marketing Coach community with me to share her story, her journey of twofold coming to Daily Marketing Coach and also then moving forward and joining the Total Funnel Immersion group. So I want to welcome Linda Troop. Hello, Linda. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you, Anne. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. And
Excellent.
you're in beautiful, sunny Southern California. It looks very, very nice.
It is. Fall is one of our best seasons.
It looks so nice. Well, could you just share with everybody a little bit about yourself before we go into more of the specifics, just so they know who you are, a little bit of your background and your interests?
Okay. I'm Linda Troop, and I decided to, because of my dogs, I have three French Bulldogs that have had a lot of different challenges in their life. Everything from skin issues to actually ruptured spine and paralysis, surgery, 4 months of rehab, the whole bit. And through working with the medical community, sometimes I found answers, sometimes I didn't, and sometimes the solutions caused more problems than they fixed. And I'm the type of girl that will just do it myself. So through that, I started training for different forms of body work to work with my pets. And I became a Tellington T-Touch practitioner, a certified therapeutic and rehabilitative massage practitioner, started doing energy work, and also got into doing custom essential oils for people's dogs and for themselves, actually, when I became an aromatherapist. And I moved from that into an MLM that does essential oils, and that kind of saved me a lot of work since they have a lot of things already prepared. And so what I do is I work locally in addition to my corporate job. I work locally doing body work on animals, primarily senior, very sick, disabled animals and hospice animals. And I bring them the body work, I work with them with the essential oils, and then in the process I work with their owners and certain issues that they're having. So that is kind of what I do in a nutshell.
And that's a very unique skill set that I knew absolutely nothing of. I found it so intriguing when working with you in Total Funnel Immersion and just finding out this really, really unique skill set and niche. So I've really enjoyed seeing that, learning that from you. Could you share how it was exactly that you came to the Daily Marketing Coach community? What made you move forward to joining DMC?
Okay. My primary goal is a little different from a lot of people that I've run into in DMC, is my idea is to replace my corporate income so that I can do more hands-on body work with the animals. To do that, I'm going to have to work around the clock doing body work on animals to replace my corporate income. So by building an online presence with my essential oils, my hope is that that part will replace the corporate job and then free me up to work on animals at a comfortable pace, not one after the other all day long. So that's kind of where I came from that. And Angela Brooks ended up bringing a lot of us over to DMC for a training platform. And I had seen some other programs and had been involved in some other things, and it just wasn't a good fit for me. I'm a very logical, linear thinker. I like things neat and orderly.
Yes,
And
you
I require things to be neat and orderly. So when I got into the DMC and I went in on that, I didn't come in on one of those week promo things. The group had done that first, and I kind of somehow missed that connection there. And I came in a little bit later, maybe a month later, and I just went and checked it out and signed up to get started. And when I got to the back office and I saw basically start here, do this, do this, do this, I was sold. I loved it. I loved the idea that I could go back and look at videos more than once. I loved the idea that there was a flow. the information was all current, which the program that I was in before, I suffered through something only to find out it was like a 3-year-old thing, and everything was all outdated, as far as WordPress and stuff went. So I was very, very relieved how open and helpful everybody was in the group. That was huge to me, because the other program that I had been in, there was one topic a month. You were allowed to only ask questions on that topic and that topic only, and only the head of the group was authorized to answer. So it was way more constrained than I like. It's great if you're at that place where that topic is for the month, but when you're just coming in, chances are you're not going to be ready for whatever it is they're doing that month. So when I came here and I saw, okay, I don't have to be at any pace with anybody else. I can go as fast as I want, as slow as I want, redo whatever I want. That was a huge win for me. And the part that you can recruit people and bring people in with you and make money from that as well is nice, but that's not what my business model is about. So that wasn't a real priority for me. The priority for me was getting my online act together, if you will, and fell in love with the program. The people are so helpful. And I think my first 2 months in DMC, I probably spent a lot of my time going, is this for real? Can I really ask this question? Is it okay? So it was a perfect fit for me.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. And yes, you are very linear. I'll never forget, and we're going to get to this part next. You came to Raw 3, you moved forward, and Raw 3, by the way, is Renegade Action Workshop, number 3. And then you moved forward with TFI, Total Funnel Immersion. And I'll never forget when you posted on the group page, you know exactly what I'm going to be talking about. You had your chart, and you had each of these tags. I'm like, that is amazing. I love that, because that's me. I am extremely visual, and I am a massive check off the list kind of person. I'm like, okay, this lady and I are a lot alike. So why don't you share about Renegade Action Workshop 3, because that's significant, to take a trip somewhere. You were pretty new, I believe, but talk about that, and then moving forward with Total Funnel Immersion.
Sure. It was a big deal. I think it was February. Was that
Yes,
February?
it was. Mm-hmm.
Yes. For this Southern California girl that doesn't ever wear a coat, my own one, to go to Minnesota in February.
That's
People are like, are you crazy? And it's like, you are going to go to Minnesota in February. And it's like, yeah. I need to do this for my business, and I need to do it for myself. I was sold with it being an actual workshop, not just a lecture-based thing where you just sit and take notes the whole time. Right. So that was never an issue that I wasn't going to be there. So that was great. And it was fabulous, because I got to meet so many people in my MLM face-to-face. I got to meet all the friends that I'd had in the DMC face-to-face, and it was just a very comfortable environment to be in, and it was so much fun. And so when you had the presentation about the TFI, I remember texting my husband during the thing, and I said, I could see me doing this in about a year. And he goes, yeah, whatever you want. And it's like, okay. And then as you kept talking, I said, I might be doing this pretty soon. But to be honest with you, it really wasn't a good fit for my budget at the time. And actually, I was one of the first 5 that got the bag. Okay. But then I panicked over the finance thing and gave my bag back. And then I thought about it some more and went and got my bag back. But by then I wasn't in the top 5 anymore. But that was okay. But Randy was also very encouraging to me and helped me make that decision to go ahead and move forward. So once I made the decision, I was really excited that that was the right thing to do, that I could either, keep shooting around and take a lot longer, And Natasha's story was very helpful to me as well about her replacing her attorney income. Mm-hmm. My corporate income is nice, but it's nowhere near an attorney income. And I thought, well, if she can do that, then maybe I can take twice as long to replace a fraction of an attorney income, So that was why I decided to move forward with the TFI.
Okay, awesome. So then you move forward and tell me, as I was just mentioning a moment ago about, there were these little card things, mm-hmm. inserts that came yes. with the bag. And I thought, those took a lot of work for me to do and my team to assemble those. And then to see that show up on the Facebook group page, all organized. So talk through the process of learning. I think that's something that a lot of people is an obstacle. How do I actually move through a training program? So you are very methodical, is my impression of you. You're very systematic. You're very methodical. I mean, you had this up on your fridge, I think, some kind of a chart and all this. And so I want you to share about how you learn and how you implemented TFI. And I also want you to go into what happened in your life that really took you back in a big way and how you dealt with that as you were still in TFI.
Okay. So I came home and I have a big flip chart, one of those really big flip charts on an easel. And I was looking and I'm going, God, this is so much. This TFI is just so much. And until I could organize it and put it into something that was linear for me, it was just a scramble in my head. Mm-hmm. So I took all my little cards and I put them on my board and I put little check boxes underneath them. So everything was there and I knew as I went through a module, I could check it off and see that it was not an overwhelming process, that it was very logical, very linear, how I like it, and it was set up that way by you, but to see it translated my own way onto my own board with my own little markers and know these are the bonus things I got that were extra, make sure I don't forget to do those, and these are all the different modules. And even though there was at the time 10 modules, and I think now we're up to 11 because mm-hmm. you've added one, mm-hmm. I could see I'm making progress because I'm someone that can get stuck in the details. Very much so. I'm a recovering perfectionist. So if I gained only one thing out of TFI, which I gained a lot more than that, but the whole concept of this check and adjust, don't wait until it's perfect, get it done. You can always go back and tweak it, was huge for me. So once I was able to do that, then I had my program laid out for me and I was very comfortable. But we also have my corporate job. We have my bodywork clients. We had the TFI modules. And when I was going through, they were live calls. So you wanted to try to be on the live calls as much as you could. And plus my husband travels with his job. He's got a mother in Indiana that right around this time he had to go back and put her in a nursing home. So he was out of town. So I have an erasable calendar on the side of our fridge, and everything's color-coded. My business stuff is one color. The dog's appointments are one color. If he's going to be out of town, it all goes on the board so that we can coordinate and know where each other is during at the time. So that was how I organized that, because that was my other thing, was how am I going to devote the time that I need to get through TFI and to do it right? Because if I can't do it right, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So that was between my big chart, keeping me on track of, yes, you are making progress, because otherwise for me it would be easy for one module to blend into another, and I'll just know I'm in the middle of TFI somewhere.
Right.
And this I could definitely look and go, okay, you've done this much, and you have this much to go. And then I could look on my calendar and say, okay, I'm seeing a client on this night and this night. I've got TFI calls on this night, this night, and this night. Steve's not going to be home for this weekend. And it was just very easy way for me to visually see, and him too, visually see what's going on in the family at any given time, but also overall for the whole month.
Can I just reflect off of that before you continue?
Sure.
It's sounding like you put together a visual dashboard of sorts that was visual in your home, so you could look and see, okay, here's where I'm at in TFI right now, rather than TFI seeming like some big blob of information. And then you could also look at your other dashboard. Here's my calendar. And that all helped give you perspective. And like you just used the term comfort, you had your bearings, your mental bearings of where you were at in the process. I love that. I am extremely visual. I hope people are taking notes on this because, I use a dashboard in my company, for example, an online dashboard. You had a physical dashboard that you could look at, and those were your gauges, just like in a car, having a dashboard. So that's awesome.
And to make sure that you didn't forget to sit down and pay the bills one night.
There you go.
So that worked out really well for me to keep me from spinning out of control, worrying about the details. So that was really good. So early May, we found out that my mother-in-law, who had broke her hip a year earlier, wasn't doing well, and she was going to have to go into a nursing home. So Steve had to fly back to Indiana to take care of that. While he was back there, I ended up with the most hideous neck pain that I don't even know how to describe. I went to sleep on the couch. It was a planned nap, so it wasn't, it was in the evening. I never take naps, but I decided to that night. Cuddled up with my pillow, my dogs on the couch, and woke up with blinding pain. I sat up, and within about 30 seconds, everything went black from pain. And I had no idea why. It wasn't a stiff neck. And that started a very long process that went all the way until mid-July. I used up all my sick time at work. I used up all my vacation time. Steve came home a couple days after it all started. But in the meantime, I was, I still had dogs that had to be fed and the whole bit. And it was a type of pain that what I can only describe as a level 10 searing hot pain. And I've had fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue in my life, so I'm not a stranger to pain, and I have an extremely high pain tolerance. So when I'm saying a level 10 pain, it's way up there. And I had we started a whole process of going to several different doctors. We did traction. We did chiropractics. Orthopedics said there was nothing there that they could find. Long story short, what they found, before I get to that part, I ended up going out on disability. I did that after an emergency room trip on June 17th, I believe. They gave me 3 injections of Dilaudid, which I'd never even heard of before, and it made no impact on the pain whatsoever. So they sent me home. They said, we don't know what to do with you. Just go home and take some muscle relaxers. I'm not one big on taking pills, but I took them. But once I determined they weren't working, I stopped taking them. What's the point? I ended up having 3 epidural injections into my neck. They were all focused on this idea that there was a problem at the C5 and 6 vertebrae, probably a herniated disc. But a misread MRI did not find anything at C5 and 6 except a little bit of arthritis. So all the doctors I saw, no one bothered to look at the CD that I brought that had the pictures on it. And they all just said, you know what, you don't have anything wrong with you that other people your age don't have.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm going to be 49 next month, not 149.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm pretty sure that most people my age are not going through this. But basically, I kind of think at that point I was maybe labeled a hypochondriac. I don't know. Because they said, well, there's a little bit of arthritis there, but no big deal. So in our accountability group, I was with Laura and Stella. And Laura Bostrom says, this sounds like a type of pain that I went through. And she goes, let me send you some information. And, I had been contacted by so many people that had a super drink that was going to fix it. Their MLM had this product that was going to fix it. Another one wanted me to go to some town hall meeting to hear about their vitamin thing. And it's like, you don't understand. I can't even sit up. I'm not going anywhere. And I think it's beyond these things because I've got my own remedies. And if they haven't fixed it, I don't think anything else is going to either. So Laura sent me this information. And I looked at the video, and it was this huge light bulb moment. I said, that's what's wrong with me. And it was a problem with the C1 and 2 vertebrae, which, is where your head and your brainstem connect. So problem being is it's a very specialized procedure. I had a friend that knew about it that lives in Florida, and then Laura had someone where she used to live that did it. But both of these involved very long flights, which was not possible. So I started researching, and I found a doctor about an hour and a half away from me that had been teaching the technique since 1982. My husband drove me to see him, and with me laying down in the car. And he's the first doctor that actually looked at my MRIs.
Wow.
He called me into his office, and he didn't even say anything. He just turned his computer screen around, and he says, what do you see? I said, it's not symmetrical and balanced. And turns out, we think more than likely what happened is I had a very severe car wreck in 2003, and I was driving a old Mercedes that was a tank, basically. And it was a head-on collision by a girl that was talking on her cell phone that made an illegal turn. And I shouldn't have walked away from that wreck. But the damage in my neck matches up to my description of the wreck. And, it got better over time. And a lot of it I tuned out and didn't worry about. And then in November, I had a fall out of a hammock that had been rotted in our nice Southern California sun. And one of my French bulldogs likes to sit on my stomach when I'm on the hammock. He jumped up to sit on the hammock, and we both crashed to the ground. And I hit my head really hard on the ground. And we think that, because I started having some problems in December, January, and then by March it was unbearable. And we think that, started the cascade of events. So I started some treatments with him in mid-July. I went back to work part-time in August. I worked 4 hours a day all through August and started full-time back at my corporate job September 2nd. Yeah, so it's been a long journey. And all this time, I'm trying to keep up with TFI.
That is unbelievable. And that the circumstance that here you had your accountability group, which I'm sure had tremendous value in the whole business side of it, let alone to imagine that accountability group and having Laura happen to be in your group and saying, I think I know something that can help you, is really miraculous. Because you would have that hammock incident, but what if? I mean, who knows those doctors, what they were telling you, but here you had Laura, who happened to be in your TFI group. It's kind of mind-blowing that it worked out that way.
And after I went to the TFI weekend that we had, when I was up there, I actually switched accountability groups. And so if I hadn't have switched accountability groups and ended up with Laura and Stella, we still wouldn't have known, right?
Oh, wow.
So it's like everything came together so perfectly.
Oh, and what if you hadn't come in April? Though we may have just matched up anyways. I don't recall how that all played out, but That is really amazing. Now, I hear the members, they talk about overwhelm and struggle. Can you talk about, you did go through the training despite level 10 brain numbing and your doctor is saying, well, it's called suicide pain.
Yes,
And yet
that's exactly what they told me.
And so there you are, suicide pain, going through TFI. And we just spoke shortly before we turned the recording on that you learned so much through TFI, laying down a foundation, all that you learned to gain such confidence moving forward. And you did that while in pain. In pain. So can you just talk about how you went through the training? You had your books and all that. Tell this.
Yeah, a lot of times I would be on the calls, packed in ice, laying down whatever way was okay for that moment. And I would have my laptop either open on my body somewhere or positioned on a table nearby. Sometimes I was laying on the floor, kind of in a fetal position with my laptop there. And I would take notes best I could. I would, do screenshots to save myself having to type a lot.
Oh.
That tool, Jing, that you told us about.
I love Jing. I love it.
That was such a lifesaver because I was either going to have to write all that stuff or I could do a screen capture and dump it into a Word document.
Yes.
That was so much easier. So I did do all those things. I did a lot of thinking about my niche. I did, in that time I was off, I found a forum because they talk about finding your money pond. And everybody, if you can find a money pond that's already a hungry crowd, go for it. I'm creating my hungry crowd. So it's holistic type stuff that I do is relatively new to pets. But, they're coming along. We're getting there. But I'm going the long way about it. I'm educating my people as I go. But in the meantime, I had found a forum, which I'm not used to the forum format, and I'm not comfortable with that. It's very awkward for me. But I found at that time my focus was senior dogs. So I found this forum and I got involved, and they asked me if I would be, this was funny. They asked me if I would be a guest on a panel on a Google Hangout. It was right before July 5th. And oh man, that was like right when I was getting my epidurals and the whole bit. And it's like, okay, so I propped myself up in a chair with this ice bag around my neck and was on the forum talking, about the hazards of 4th of July and the stressors for animals. So it wasn't long after that I got notified by the person in charge of that. It's a board that's associated with a large online pet store, pet supply store. And she says, we've created a new board called Natural Options that we would like to make sure that you see. We think it's going to be right up your alley. And it's like, perfect, because that brings in a whole lot more, right? Because by that time I decided, I think, more of this check and adjust stuff, that maybe senior dogs is too narrow. We're just going to go to all dogs and natural remedies and stuff like that. So poof, here comes this forum. And they asked me to do that. Well, a few months, maybe a month or so ago, they asked me if I would be the moderator for that board. And so now I've gone to this forum, found the one. They created one that's perfect for me, asked me to moderate it, and I'm also on a consumer panel with them evaluating pet products and the needs of pet owners. So that was another really neat thing that came out of, I never would have gone looking for a forum before finding DMC and TFI. But I was in search of my money pond. I've learned my money pond still needs some growing, but that's okay. I'm not in an urgent rush right now. But, so that was really cool. another thing that came out of it that I didn't expect.
Can I talk about that, what you're talking, just so people can understand what the money pond and all is? You are, in fact, more of a pioneer right now. And more often than not, in terms of finding that money pond, it's kind of like this V shape, like ducks, and that people follow in the draft. And they catch that draft through someone who has pioneered a new niche. So you are more at a pioneering phase. I just want to put this into context as people are listening to this, is you're more like that person, or the duck, leading the whole, the future into this whole new evolving niche. Like I said to you, I had never heard of such a thing. I didn't know there was all this, holistic animal care. And I'm like, well, I'll be, because there's been the whole human aspect. And now that is kind of a draft off of that is, well, there's now pet holistic. So I think in the bigger context, this is your passion and your love. And it's a field that is in its very formative stage for which you have the potential to be a very significant leader in, like you said, having been on that panel. And you did all this while going through extreme disability and pain and making this progress. So another thing I want to focus on is that, just like you said, you've made some check and adjust, and you've had to, you have morphed and evolved and grown through this whole experience. And I want others to hear that message as well. Could you say, I think you cut out. Can you say something again?
Can you hear me now?
That's good. In that, I think a lot of people get paralyzed at the beginning. It happened today. I had a call with someone. I'm paralyzed, Ann. I don't want to move forward until I get everything perfectly figured out. And I said, well, here's the deal. So can you, don't do that. So can you speak to that? And something that you shared before we started recording is, well, maybe you didn't get to where you thought you would in this past 6 months or so, the knowledge that you gained to now have the confidence now that you gained a greater understanding of your niche. Can you speak to that whole concept?
Yeah. I went into, because I have very high expectations for myself, and I didn't plan on a disability. And I just figured, okay, when I come out of TFI, my world is going to be perfect. Everything's going to be exactly the way it should be with a big old red bow on it. And it's going to be a well-oiled machine. Well, I've had so much checking and adjusting. My niche was way too narrow. And it's still evolving. Now I'm working more with the human aspect too. And my niche is more focused on people that consider their animals family. And that was another thing that we worked through in my accountability group, was talking that through. And I haven't finished my paid product yet. I thought, oh, great, I'm going to be on disability a long time. I'm going to finish writing that book. Yeah, right. I couldn't form 2 sentences at a time. So the book is not done. And I will get to it, but I'm also taking a little bit of time now to work on my health and make sure that I don't fall apart again in the process. So that's another thing that has come about this before, because I've always been the type to push. And for 4 years, that's what I've done, getting my certifications and my skills built up. And then I figured, okay, I'm just going to push, get the TFI done, and then life happened, right? So it didn't end up with this well-oiled machine that I thought I was going to have when I started. But what I do have is I've got all this knowledge in my head of all the lessons we've been through. I have my lessons saved to my hard drive. So as I'm refining and doing my check and adjusting, because I didn't sit on my perfectionist tendencies, I moved forward, and then I said, scratch that. Going to fix it up a little bit different, and then move forward a little bit more and change that a little bit, I keep moving forward. That's the whole point, is I keep moving forward, and now I have the knowledge that as I develop something new, I know how to set it up right. I know how to build those letters to be in the right type of sequence, like Eric taught us. So I'm getting back out. I was in like more of a maintenance mode during my disability. I would write a blog post once in a while. Was still keeping up my social media because that was kind of easy to do from a laying down position, little snippets here and there, not having to come up with really coherent blog posts. But I was able to learn these things and to save these things. And I know as I refine things and make changes here and there and add a little bit to the business here, take away a little bit there, I know how to build it and how to make it very strong and flow correctly. And, that is priceless.
Yeah. So you have built a foundation. I'm getting a terrible echo now. But you have a foundation of how to build an online business. It's you understand the roadmap. You've gone through it. It didn't play out quite like you thought because of that whole complexity of finding that, hot money pond of eager buyers. So you had to make those adjustments, but you definitely have the roadmap, which now gives you the confidence to move forward in a better way.
Yes. And I'm having a lot of fun working with it. It's just, I'm meeting really great people. It's feeding into I did a local class 2 weeks ago because I love teaching. I love the whole classroom teaching type thing. And I had an opportunity to partner up with a local trainer here. And we did an event together. And it was fun because there were different segments throughout the day. And in the morning, there were some really cool segments in the morning, but there weren't very many people there. And it's like, but I was going, oh, what did I get myself into? And but by the afternoon, when my segment came on, it was like the doors got busted down. So it was like there is an interest in what I'm doing. And I had 2 people from that event buy my wholesale kit. Now, they don't plan on becoming, business builders, but they don't know what they're planning on doing yet. They may decide down the road they want to, or maybe not. But, it's spreading the information. But I'm finding some of the skills that I learned in TFI are also converting to how I run my workshop, how I share my information with people. And I found that I conducted my workshop a little different than I normally would. And so I'm finding the offline and the online world are really starting to mesh together. And I like that a lot.
That's awesome. Can you share with those who are watching this? This is going to be viewed, by the way, not just by people in Daily Marketing Coach. My plan is to have it on the Renegade blog, and that this is, that's right. There's going to be a lot of people who watch this interview because it's a story of really big, significant struggle, going through the enormous pain that you did, and yet you stuck with the task at hand, and you've taken your knowledge onto a whole nother level. So could you speak to bring it back to where we were at the beginning, someone who's considering Daily Marketing Coach, for which I hope it's becoming clear to people, we're not just training people. There's a lot more that happens here. So in that context, and then yet another level up into TFI, as people are listening to this, you've gone through this while in deep pain, and yet how you've come through on the other end, and why you would recommend this to someone who's wanting to learn how do you actually grow a business online, and yet, like you say, how it's helped you offline.
Sure. First off, you cannot beat the price of DMC. To me, there's just if you're in business, spend the whatever a month it is for the DMC fee and get in there and learn how to set up your online real estate the way it should be. Businesses have expenses, and that's just something you need to do. You can go around buying one-off products to learn this little piece and this little piece and this little piece. But they're all done by different people, different philosophies, and they're not going to mesh well together. And who's got time for that nonsense anyway? You want to get it done, you want to get it started, and move through those lessons and do the work. it doesn't get any easier than that. Just do the work. The videos are great, showing you what you need to do, the community and the camaraderie, and you can't put a price on that. I think at the bare minimum, everyone who has an online business should be doing DMC. I can't tell you how many people have looked at my website and they're just stunned. You know, they think I'm like this big business, you know, and it's just me, little old me, you know. But it's because I've learned how to build it very nicely, very organized, have the right information there. And so, but then if you want to kick it up a notch, a big notch, then the information in TFI is just second to none. So much good information. And for me, you know, it wasn't just the physical part that I learned from DMC, but it really helped me learn not to get overwhelmed with really big projects, because I can get lost in the details. Mm-hmm. It has helped me a lot with my, what do you call that, perfectionist issues, that you don't have to wait until something's perfect to get it up online, because you're never going to get done. You're never going to move forward if you don't get something up there. If you have to put in an opt-in that's a freebie from your MLM, do it. Have something up there collecting. I've got like 100 names that were from my MLM freebie that are still on my list that I used while I was making my real offer, if you will, you know, and that's going to change again now because my focus is, but you know, it's always, something's always changing. That's just the way life is. And I think that the information you get in TFI, and you have so many different coaches that are experts in their field. You know, you don't have what, you know, Anne is fabulous and you know so many things, but you don't keep such a tight control on it that you're the only one that knows anything. Right. And that is so unique in this industry, that it's okay to have blogging experts. Mm-hmm. It's okay to have someone that's an expert on branding and another one on advertising. And, you know, you're really getting the cream of the crop, the check and adjust calls, to get anything looked at, visited. It's just fabulous. If there's any way that you can swing it, you need to do it.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I appreciate the kudos. Well, thank you, Linda, so much for taking time to do this interview together.
It was fun. Thank you, Anne.
And
appreciate
you're
it.
A star.
I'm glad you told me that after we were almost done.
Why, I might have built you up too much. But you are, in my book, because I didn't know how much. I saw it on the Facebook group page, but then to have caught up with you a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh my gosh, what you have gone through, and yet you stayed the course is so commendable. So congratulations for making it through the program despite all the setbacks that you went through, and you're such a role model for the rest of the members of our community.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
It's been great.
Well, we'll be talking soon. Thank you again, Linda.
Okay, Anne. Bye.
Bye-bye.